Hello team, welcome back to another Line War cast. This is your map today. You already know how this works. If you're new to the channel, then you won't know how this works, and we watch a game of Line War, and we cast it. Two teams today in a 1v1. Blue is T, and red is El Mexican. Both very close to the top of the leaderboard, which isn't necessarily important, but here's some context for you. In the south, T is going to take these territories in a big line. Not really sure where Mexican is going at this point. It looks relatively even if the map were to split north to south because of these two cities that Mexican would have access to on the right-hand side and the one city and the one trade route up for T. And then it's really just these two cities that T would have to take the southern one and Mexican would have to take the northern one, and it would be split entirely. So let's get into it. This is T's vision, so T can't actually see where Mexican is. Mexican won't be able to see where T is either. And two airports immediately from T, who does have the gas in a territory that is already controlled. Two bomber opening for T with a factory up front and a barracks right behind it. And town to barracks factory for Mexican with another town. So Mexican's going for a very heavy eco opener here. It'll probably be unwelcome once, like, the second this happened. It's unfortunate time on the second town. I wonder if Mexican saw that, if they would go for the second town this quickly. Especially since it's not a pre-constructed building anymore. So it'll take time to build, but if Mexican can hold this off, then red will be in a very good economic spot. And the two bombers for blue are almost done. We'll expect to hear T take a gas relatively quickly. And an artillery piece for Mexican, which will be good in case it was a rush of infantry coming ahead. It would be definitely necessary. Mexican's going for a third barracks. And another big thing to check in this game, it'll be when T decides to send the bombers. Does T decide to go with two right when they finish and get a scout of what's going on and go ahead? Or, like, wait for more bombers? T can see that Mexican took this town. So in theory, since T built all production buildings with the first amount of money that they got instead of eco units, like Mexican, they should have more once these bombers come out. More combat potential is what I mean. So the first artillery piece is in the game for T. Mexican's going to have to make a decision whether to go forward or to go back at this point. And I think it's either way is a good call. If Mexican can get a good initiative here with this infantry, then the bombers will have to stay at home instead of going off to attack Mexican's base. Bombers don't have great vision, so they're not going to be able to see this second town anytime soon. But they will scout those three barracks. One commando is up for Mexican. That could actually be decent, although this is a big choke, so the commando might not have so much, like, as much success trying to go through this mountain pass, but we'll see what the plan is for it. And first tank out for Mexican. This is I think a very smart play. Even one tank that can move by this blue army that's kind of preoccupied in the forest could do a lot of damage. The infantry for red is thinning out a little bit. This second attack from the bombers and every subsequent attack is going to get stronger and stronger, really, because the bomber numbers grow. There will be one SAM for the next time they show up, but I don't think one SAM can take on two bombers and destroy them in time. But that's why we watch the game. Eco-wise, 390 for blue and 460 for red. So we really see that Mexican is getting quite a good economy from these two towns. T follows up with the barracks to make sure that there's enough units. I mean, T knows that there's three barracks for red, so it makes sense to try to match that. Mexican's got a second factory on the way. What's going to be four bombers, since they're going to spread out their payload, they likely won't destroy a building this time. Pardon me. But they definitely will the next time. They'll soften them up. So T won't be able to see this Sam, which is concealed in the forests. Forests and mountains give you a little bit of stealth. But unfortunately, if the Sam does leave the forest, then the bombers might go attack it. Great digging from T. In this forest, it'll be very difficult for Mohican to push through this gap at this point. And we can see just how damaged this town is for Red. There's no further buildings in the south or anything for T. And you can see the extent of Mohican's capping if we go down this top-down tactical view. And check the economies, 430 for blue and 530 for red. But that is going to likely change in a second as this town is sniped. Submarine pen for Mohican to cap all these different things, probably get some good scouts off. And this is good for Mohican, making sure that this one tank is cleaning up any infantry that T is trying to sneak around. T knows that this is a very good defensive spot, and they're not really at risk of losing to an infantry rush. So these infantry for blue likely just going to the left-hand side to start capping this part of the map. But here come these 4 bombers, and going to be 6 bombers probably midway through this attack. And you'll notice that it's just all SAMs coming from Mohican at this point, out of the factories. Great positioning on these 2 units so that they don't give up a direct lane to the town, so the bombers will finish it off. The bombers will start to soften up this town to the left. And this time might actually destroy it if more bombers get in on the action here. The one thing that Mohican kind of has going for them is that these, well, I guess not anymore, but that T was leaving these artillery pieces here instead of pressuring with them. Because you can see how open this lane towards this town is again, and it's been a pretty decent buildup of artillery for blue. Because this whole time, Mohicans had to pump out SAMs, so the artillery count is really just favoring T at this point. These red infantry are in trouble, buying a little bit of time for a bigger defense at home. 560 income for Mohican, 490 for T. And the SAMs get one of the bombers, but can they get more in time? It would be so big if they could shoot this one. No, they don't. So SAMs will target the most damaged aircraft in front of them. So if they're in range, they'll try their best. 2 more SAMs will show up, and then 6 SAMs total. Actually pretty decent to deal with this number of bombers. And Mohican might actually be able to get and gather enough infantry to at least not die to these artillery. Mohican's going for economy even, so this will be very good for Mohican over time if they can hold this off. It's just a question of whether they can. T's getting a barracks on the bottom that'll start capping this part of the map, so that's very good for blue. Kind of offsets, or at least my read on it is it kind of offsets the industry that red is going for at this point. A little bit. Tank's going to get taken out because these bombers are certainly going to kill the tank and certainly kill the town at this point. This is the attack line that T is using. So really just targeting the bombers with this. And this is such a massive artillery. After these 2 SAMs, we'll probably look to Mohican to build an artillery piece, but this is now becoming a difficult situation. The bombers have destroyed those 2 SAMs on the left-hand side, are about to destroy this town. And we'll see that economy lead, 540 for blue, and 642 for Mohican, but we're going to see that drop in a second. It's got to be a little bit of a tense moment. Mohican is capping on the right-hand side with another barracks. T is starting to do some commando drops. And there's enough SAMs to deal with any bombers that show up. But, like, at least to this part of the map. 597 economy now for Mohican, and T's only 30 behind. First two subs are out. It also means that T can't go for a dock here because Mohican would spot that. But 6 artillery units, pretty scary. These SAMs might start getting in on the fight. And they do, and here's the big defense for Red. I think this is the moment in the game where we gotta see how well Red can defend this. And then start developing on the right-hand side. Mohican's going for a gas to keep these subs going and maybe open up some play with tanks. And this is solid. The firecrackers doing their work. And Mohican pushes this back. And only loses 1 SAM in this exchange, which is a big part of it. So the 2 commandos for T are starting to cap in the top right. We'll see if Mohican can deal with that. Barracks on the bottom for T. And T's almost made it to the left-hand side of the map. Here come the bombers. They're going to take this line around the back. Mohican's going to retreat the SAMs. And probably recognizes what this attack is going to be. So great play from Red. And a very good angle for T. I've turned on the setting in the replays where you're going to see all the white commands for the units responding to what the players are putting down. Okay, it's V. TIL. And this is enough SAMs to take out 2 bombers. So T falls back to the forest. Mohican getting a barracks on the left-hand side. In fact, has 2 barracks. So after these barracks are done capping on the left, they're going to be able to funnel units into this choke pretty well. And T's building a barracks on the right-hand side. There's some commandos coming out of this barracks for Mohican, so they'll have good vision to counter these commandos from T. And another scary, sneaky little mountain barracks for Blue. 640 economy for Blue and 667 for Red. So that town snipe is really kind of reset where both players' economies are and put them even. 3 subs for Mohican are getting just fantastic vision in this little channel. They spot these bombers going off to the right. Subs can attack land units and there's nothing really in range. But for vision, they really... I mean, this is great early warning for Mohican that T is starting to think about this. You can see the visibility, the stealth bonus for the buildings in the mountains. That blue barracks still not spotted by that many infantry. And Mohican's going for the town in the top, which has a port on it. Commandos have better vision, so they do see this barracks in the forest. And it still remains to be seen how Mohican's going to be able to deal with these bombers. They're actually in range of all of this gas in the sub-pen. T hasn't spotted it yet. Okay, so there's the gas. So the next sortie probably T will try to target that. And T might also be wondering why there is a gas and what that means, because there's no gas units that T has seen for the last little bit. The sub-pen is still invisible. And those are the only energy-consuming units that Mohican has. Good pickup from Red on that barracks. T's nearly caught the left side of the map, all covered up. And territory-wise, it looks like Blue has a little bit more. 764 income for Blue and 717 for Red. Three farms, the third one getting built for T in the south. It's good economy. And this is probably going to be a big fight. 2 barracks for Mohican should be able to kind of deal with this. But we'll see what the bombers do and how they change that if they do decide to go up in the top right. So the red commando won the first fight, but these 3 commandos reinforcing are going to destroy it. The infantry are going to rush home because Mohican realizes that this is going to be a gas snipe. Then 3 commandos will kill it relatively quickly. We'll see if red can defend. There's a decent red army. Luckily for Mohican, these bombers are focusing on the front. I think that's a good thing, actually, if you are red. Because very slowly, these 2 barracks are going to be able to use all their units to push. It's another barracks for Mohican somewhere on the map. Is what we just heard. To replace this one, right above this barracks. Because the commandos do get it. Here comes some of the bombers. There is a commando on top of the barracks for T. That's a great play. And it's going to be able to take it out. The gas will get destroyed for Mohican. Luckily, it's only the subs that really need it. Which is still a little bit unfortunate, but I don't think at the end of the world. It's not like Mohican had a bunch of tanks that were getting ready to go for a push and now they can't move at all. Unfortunately for this commando, it couldn't quite take out that barracks. 842 income for red and 920 for blue. Still very close. And it seems like red wants to start pushing as Mohican might just jump on the forest. If all these infantry take the fight at the same time, they might be able to do it. The artillery in the defensive line get a huge buff on their attack range. If they're being attacked from the side, they don't get any of the buff for the defense. And this is a lot of infantry. T has some infantry in the back that will be able to reinforce these front lines. The artillery in the forest is nearly taken out entirely. This is a very good push from Mohican. And with this many SAMs that also have combat power against artillery and infantry like we saw earlier, Mohican might actually just win the game here. T puts down a factory at really like the best location. You don't want it too close to the front lines. If you watch the stream, I always do it way too close to the front lines. T's putting it in a good spot so that it'll have a chance to finish and then also be very close to reinforce and defend. But this is a ton of units from red. And there's just so many SAMs that the bombers, which are needed for the defense at home, aren't going to be able to do much. The best that T can hope is that they win super hard on the right-hand side, but Mohican's putting down enough barracks that it'll be very difficult to do. And this pocket of resistance in the forest is going to get wiped out. More industry and economy for blue on the way, which would be great in the long term. If they can hold out from this attack, they'll be in a great spot, I think. Yeah, because T has almost 100 more economy than Mohican. This push from the SAMs on the right-hand side is a great play because it's going to make all these producers focus on this group of SAMs instead of this very big army. It being reinforced by 3 barracks with a 4th on the way. Good game. Well played both. Line war. Wow, that's on 361, so there was a little bit of a patch to the bombers, made them more expensive. But very close. Great game. Folks, I hope you enjoyed it. Check out the Line War Discord if you want to learn more about the game, find games, talk to folks, whatever it is. March 20th to 26th is the Line War Tournament. Super exciting. Hope you have a wonderful day, evening, night, whatever it is for you, wherever you are. Peace.